So today, I'm going to do some different things than you might have expected. I'm going to look at the WiSys desktop applications. Why am I going to do that? The applications WiSys has can have immediate impact to your organization to make you leaner and faster. And I'm going to show you how we can do that. We're going to take a look at all these little components here and how you can plug these in. The reason I want to start here is because to do a warehouse project, you need to have Macola up and running in a certain way. Maybe you want to turn on lot control or bin control. Maybe you're not ready to do that. But WiSys can still benefit your company today as you get ready to go deeper into Macola. The other thing is doing a warehouse project, you have to put up Wi-Fi in the warehouse. That's plumbing. You have to get the architecture of that plumbing right. And then you need to buy Scanguns and printers and things like that. You may not be ready to do that. But what if you could plug in WiSys right now where you are, with progression, with Macola 10, with ES, wherever you are, and get some immediate benefit. So let's just pause here, and I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm now on my Macola desktop. And I'm going to begin to just orient you to what we have. Now, as a current customer, you probably are familiar with this Scangun. This Scangun is what most of you took advantage of when you added WiSys to your Macola. But I'm not going to spend my total time here today on this. I'm going to start with some components. Now, the Agility desktop, when you buy our applications, depending on which modules you have or whether you have a named user, it will respond and give you an interface that looks something like this. So on the left-hand side, I have all the little components that we're going to go through today. And over here, this is my action area. Now, when I opened up Agility, some of you may know that this area can be blank, but you can actually have an automatic component load every time you do that. And you just capture whatever you have open and create your own little startup group. So those of you that are customers today may be accustomed to using WiSys a certain way, but I hope you'll see some things here that you may not have turned on, or options that you could talk to your consultant about, or you could have a private conversation with me and I can go a little deeper here. Now I have these in order over here. This is my favorites area. To get a favorite, if you don't have a favorite, you just open up any one of these folders and then you right-click on a component and say Add to Favorites. You can add these to your desktop, or you can add these to your Macola 10 environment right here. So WiSys is not only integrated with Macola, but we're really embedded. So for instance, I like this component, this Inventory Location Master. I'll say Add to Favorites. It says, okay, good, let's do that. And I'm done. When I click on Favorites, you'll see that it's added it to the top of the list. If you right mouse here, you can edit your favorites, and then you can move them around, and then you can say Run your favorites, and it'll always remember those items in order in which you like to do them. A little bit like workflow. When I open a component, this is called a grid. A WiSys grid is similar to an Excel spreadsheet. I know some of you may only use the Scanguns. You may not know that these grids exist, but they do come with your Agility WMS application. So this is my entire item master. Some of you may have 10,000, 20, 30,000 items in your item master. It'll bring back all of them in a grid, and I can focus just by typing here. So I want to look at just one warehouse, and maybe I want to look at all my purchased items, and I can see them that quick. And then down along the bottom, I have buttons that tell me whether I have action that I could take. So I'd like you to think today about these grids as a way to look at data. And I think you'll see that not only can we look or monitor what's there, but we can also take action and actually do Macola transactions. So in my order today, I wanted to start out with something that we have in the system called a console. The idea behind the console is to be able to do a lot of things in one place as a power user. Now, you may say, I don't want everybody to have all this stuff. That's fine, they don't have to. You grant employees or workers these components based on security or a role. So maybe there's only one or two people that you want to have this much power. But in this day and age where we want to empower people and wear a lot of hats, what if you can go faster with your WiSys and Macola together? So what we're looking at right here is my view of sales orders in the system. Order statuses, you'll see here we have the words. We can also type the number here. So these are all my order statuses number 1. So you can see here, this is an open order and it has lots of line items on it. Well, over the years, people have said, Bob, why don't you guys do order entry like Macola? I'm thinking, well, you know, order entry is pretty doggone good in Macola. It's fast, it's complex, it deals with a lot of stuff. You can put flex in it if you need to. So what we decided to do was rather than reinvent the world, what if we can just call Macola? So just like Macola 10 can call their components, we're doing the same thing. I personally like this. It is a client-server application calling Macola as a client-server application. I can make changes to the order, and then I can save it and get out. So here, if I want to change that to 25, and I'm done, save that, exit. And every screen has a little refresh button, or you can press F5 like you can in your browser. It'll refresh the screen. So you'll see here that if we look at this one, here's that 15 that went to 25 right there. So if you're in customer service, it gives you a lot of power to sit here and look for something. You know, what if a specific customer calls up and says, hey, customer 905 has an order in the system. What's going on with that order? Look how fast you can pull it up and you could edit it right there. I'm just going to work a couple more items here. I can actually do order entry. And something I'm going to do today is we're going to deal with some Oreos. And we'll order a gross of those. So there I have my order 957. And so if I sort this in order number, got to refresh the screen, remember. So 957 should be here at the top. So there's my order, and there's my item. And we're going to make some cookies here in a little bit. I know you're all probably hungry after lunch, so we'll go ahead and have a cookie as a snack. All right, let's go on and look at another console, POP. And they all have a number of components here. Some of these components are related to Macola, and some of these components are just related to WiSys. But they're all components that you can just plug in. And because it's all object-oriented, there's over 157, I think that's the number, 157 components that we've made available out of the Macola deck that you can just plug in. So if you wanted something related to order entry right here, you could do that and just plug in a component item and really just build the screen you want. So here's a work order. You can see here's one. Here's a component. It's an unreleased order. You can edit those. So you have a lot of power here to work on your orders. You can sort these and you can make decisions. You could reschedule orders. It's a quick way to know if you're over capacity, when are you going to reschedule an order for? Next week, call the customer, make sure it's okay. So you can get into that. You have all these components here at your fingertips. Shop floor also is a powerful way. I know many of you that have been on Macola for years started out with POP and have maybe moved up to Macola 10 to get shop floor control. So this is a filter, and sometimes customers with shop floor, over the years I've seen them, they have thousands, maybe 10,000 shop orders open. They never close a thing. Well, what if we could just come in and focus a little bit on particular things? I want to focus on just Department A, or maybe I want to see just one work center. Today with my demo data, I'm going to pull back released and unreleased orders. So this is a way to filter down what you have. So a lot of people want to look at their departments. And I just dropped that off the screen, so I need to add that. One way to easily add, I can come in here and say unhide a column, or just get a column and bring it back. Because I haven't saved anything, I'll just reopen that component and get my data back again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to group by. So I want to group by department and work center. So now I can see all my orders by their work center. If I come into the footer, I can add a footer to the screen, and maybe I want to get a sum based on work centers. And just come in here and add the sum. So now I have component numbers by work center. So imagine that you, with your own knowledge, know that you're just never going to make, 124,000 units, and some of these orders are going to need to be rescheduled. So I'll look at the ones that haven't been released yet, and I can come into this shop order here, and I could edit the shop order. And I can reschedule this one. And I'll try and get it out by the end of the month. So I've got a problem here with my data, but you get the idea. And you then push the reschedule button and you reschedule that particular order. We'll try another one. And come in here. Maybe I'm not thinking clearly because I'm not going to reschedule something that hasn't been released yet, right? So here is a reschedule. I'll push it out to the end of May. So there's my reschedule. So a lot of people need scheduling. A lot of people have some knowledge about how many jobs they can run at any one time. And you can come in then and reschedule your jobs right here. It makes it pretty clean and easy to get that done. I've got a lot of components to go through. Hang on with me and we'll get to a few more. So those are consoles. This time we're going to take a look at reorder advice information. So imagine if I could have a spreadsheet of everything that I need to do some reorder advice on. So here are the components that I'm going to need for that Oreo cookie. So what this is looking at is looking at my on-hand quantities, my reorder levels, and it's giving me the ability here from a grid to actually come in and create purchase orders. So for instance, I want to order that one, and I want to order this one. And I'm going to tell it to print the purchase order for me. So I'm going to just accept these quantities. You'll notice that these columns are opened up for edit. So if you as the purchasing guy want to come in and change that quantity, you can do that because you know you should. And when I step off of that, it makes the edit to that, and I'm going to create a purchase order now. So there's my PO. This is also an example of using WiSys technology to do what we call a composite or a compound transaction. In Macola, you would create it, you would release it, and then you would print it. I've done all three steps at one time. This is a way that you can go faster. So here's my order, 8064. So that is on order now. Just writing that down. Let's grab another component. And again, normally I would do PO receiving on the Scangun, but let's just think about it. Maybe you have a warehouse today where you have WiSys, you've got all the equipment, you've got the Scanguns and the printers, but you know what? You have an overstock warehouse that's lights out. You only put stuff in there once in a while or as needed, and there's no Wi-Fi in there. What if you just need to do PO receiving to that warehouse when something comes in? So here's an example of a grid with many alerts. Again, it's a PO receiving grid. This grid isn't telling me what I should receive. It's saying what I should receive, and let's go ahead and receive it. So I'll pick this line, and I'll pick my chocolate and cream here. There's my PO 8064, and we could focus on that to make it easier on the eyeballs. So there's focused data, and here I'm going to receive, and I'm just going to type in what I'm going to get, those exact numbers. If it was a binned and lotted item, in this case it's not, it would ask me for that data. It would be a required input. I'll just go ahead and do the receiving, and we're done. So it shows that those are received. Those are the received quantities. Macola is instantly up to date. So this is a component that just is built in today to Agility on your desktop, and you can find it and use it. It's there. Okay, let's keep going. Let's just take a look at this PO master list. Again, this is a little different. It's showing me all the POs in the system that are released, printed, or unreleased. Again, I can focus on something, and I could come in and find a particular line here. Let's just try this one. And we'll go ahead and look at that purchase order. This is just a WiSys view of the PO. And let me pick another one. You can do the same thing, just come in and release the PO. So that's all I had to do to release a PO. Boom. You can also reprint a PO if you want. Let's just look at a released PO. Maybe you need to reprint one. Here's a PO for a fork, 8016, and you're good. So this is a way you can look at your POs in real time, see what's happening with them. Let's take a look at another favorite one, something that's actually somewhat hard to do in Macola. We're going to take a look at POs with lines that need to be closed. So if I focus here on a purchase order, and I'll just come in and look at this one, and I'll just decide I'm going to close this purchase order. And to do that, we just push the button and close it. So that PO is closed, marked as closed now. So if you have a bunch of purchase orders in the system where those lines are never going to be received, or lines need to be canceled, things like that, like quantity remaining. And here's one. Quantity ordered is 5, received. And we'll just take that one and close that. So that line is now closed. That's pretty handy. Okay. Another one that's powerful is the ability to do the vouchering. So we pick a vendor, and we get back all the open POs with things that have happened on them. And we can look at this and we can make some changes. So let's take a look at a specific purchase order. And we'll find this one down here. Now I can check them, and randomly. I could do them all if they were going to pay them all. Another way to do this is to focus on a specific one that might be paid. So for instance, this one, 8061, and I want to clear all those. You can see that I've got some receipts against it. Down here, I get a subtotal. I can just right mouse and say voucher. My batch will be today's date. And the amount is 9,000. And there's nothing going on here. And so I've just gone ahead and vouchered those receivers. So that's pretty powerful, isn't it? Again, that comes with the standard agility. Now we're going to move into some production. And I'm going to take a look at POP. Again, just like inventory reorder advice, I have POP order reorder advice. So here is a requirement for Oreos. I'll go ahead and check that line. And I'm going to go ahead and create and release the POP order. There's an option to unrelease orders and things like that if you want. But I'm going to go ahead and create and release the POP order. Due date, be Friday. And it falls off the grid. Again, you can change the quantities if you need to. Using this little push pin, you can make this panel stay right here. If you get rid of it, it'll just disappear so you can get a little more real estate. Sometimes it makes me a little crazy. I can't find stuff, so I just leave it open. Okay, production. We just looked at reorder advice. Let's look at POP pick tickets. So the idea behind this grid is it's going to show you shortages. So every one of these X's is a place where I've got a shortage. So if I come in here and look at, just pick this one, look at can build, this will show me where I have my shortage based on the quantity that I'm going to try and build. So you can see here, if you wanted to build 5,000, it'll show you where you have a shortage. Pretty handy. It's like you may be using MRP, but maybe you'd like to know that last second before you go after an order, do you really have all the material where you think it is? So there's my Oreos. I'll check the box. This is where we print our picking document. So we're going to go after the material that's on that pop order. Think of this as a staging document. I'm going to go pull this material for my batch of cookies I'm going to make. That's order 378. Okay. Now that we have that, we'll go ahead and drop that and go back to another component. Now this one you may be surprised about, pop production. You can do pop production right from a component in WiSys. Again, one way I like to think about this is, what if we wanted to really simplify somebody's desktop and put one component on their PC out on the shop floor, and I'll clear off everything. So what if all you had was a screen like this and a tethered scan gun, and you could scan your work order that I just printed, and you could scan it, 378, beep, and there's what you get. You need to produce that. So I'm going to go ahead and produce 100, and I'll say go, and it'll go ahead and create my label that I'm going to put on my finished goods. So if I scan that order again, or you could look it up, 378. You'll notice that the quantity remaining is 68. I'll go ahead and accept that. And there's my finished goods for the last part of the batch. So are you getting hungry for an Oreo? Now let's make it even easier. Let's take a look at another component. And this one is called Pop Backfill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send that to my desktop. How do I send it to my desktop? I don't do it there. I come down to Pop. I find that component, Backfill, and I'll explain what that is. I want to send it to my desktop. When I do that, I should have a new little component here. And I can just double click on it. All right, what is Pop Backfill? Again, this is the power of WiSys using Macola. Imagine that you're one of those simple shops that you pound orders into the system for sales orders. You have so many orders for Oreos, and then you tell the shop, hey, I need an order for 1,000 Oreos. So you come in here and say Oreo, and you have to gain focus on the screen. And you can say, I want to make Oreos in my main warehouse, and the quantity is going to be 1,000. I just need 1,000 Oreos, go make them. And when I hit the OK button, it'll go ahead and make those Oreos. And what it's done is it's made that that pop order, and it released it and reported production against it all at one time. A lot of our food banks use this. You may know that the food banks are going big guns right now. And those food banks use something like this to make backpacks. You may have heard of a backpack. Some kids get a backpack to go home over the weekend with food. So they manufacture those and they put a backpack together, and they may need 1,000 backpacks, and they just, boom, they make them. And it back flushes, a can of spaghetti and Cheerios and things like that, whatever is in the mix for a backpack that day. So that's pretty powerful if you're a simple manufacturing shop. You just want to blow out some material. Okay, just a couple more grids and we'll be done. Save a little time for some Q&A. All right, back to our favorites. We have order pick management. Order pick management is a way to look at all of your sales orders in the system. And what if I want to go ahead and work on that specific order, 950, and let's see, I entered the sales order for 957. 957. I thought. Just come back here. There it is. 957 Oreos. Now, when I made this sales order, the quantity was entered for 144, but I only had 125 on hand. But I've been making Oreos all day. So one of the powerful things you can do here is fill back orders. So I sat with Shelly at one of our customers, and she said, this is what I have to do during the day. And I said, what do you do? And she explained how she went through all their orders. She had over 3,800 sales orders in the system, and she had to figure out what she could ship today based on quantities on hand. So I showed her this grid. She just came in here and checked that box for all orders in the system and said, fill back orders. So whether material is coming in from a purchase order into stock for a sales order, or whether you're manufacturing, it's going to step through every order and fill as much as it can. And so you can see here now that this order 957 is ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and fill. I don't need to do that. I need to print a pick ticket. So you can print a pick ticket for everything if you want, or just selected items, in this case, to keep it simple. I'll print my pick ticket. Again, these are just crystal documents, so if you want to customize it, you can. And you just add it to WiSys. So 957 is ready to go. Now, most of the time, customers would use the handheld to pick an item for a shipment and confirm ship it. Today, we've got a grid here for those of you that are not in confirm ship mode. We can do confirm billing right here. My database happens to be in confirm ship, so I'll do confirm shipping right from this grid. And I'll find my order, 957. And so I want to work on this order, and here's the quantity, bins and lots if it was there. I'll go ahead and confirm ship this. So I've just moved this to a status 7. There's a grid for billing, and I can bill all my orders. So here's the order that I just shipped. If I wanted to add a freight amount, maybe 15 bucks, whatever. If you're using Starship or ShipGear or WiSys, freight would automatically be updated if it's shipped. So it'll work with those things. So I'll go ahead and do my billing. I'm going to say no. I'm going to save invoicing for the accounting department. And here's a grid for doing invoicing. So here's my status 8 order somewhere. And I'll go ahead and invoice that. Go ahead, print it to the screen just because we're doing a demo. And we should get an invoice. Of course, yours would look better than mine, but there's our detail along the way. Okay, and finally, one that's popular here is importing data. As we see more and more companies doing web ordering, we need to be able to bring orders into the system. So Agility can actually automatically map a spreadsheet and pull it in. So I just cleaned up my desktop. So I want to import some data. So I just go out and find a spreadsheet. And my data is under project. So what I've done is I've just imported spreadsheet data, transformed it into a simple SQL table, and then we use WiSys technology to map the different fields that are important. So here we see an ID number. Here's a customer number. That's important to Macola. Location is important. This reference number is not used to create a sales order, but it could be added to a user-defined field if you wanted to pull that in. Here's the shipment method, arrival date, shipment date, things like that. And then we have the different items. Here's the item numbers. What's nice about this is that it'll validate on entry and show me any items that don't exist in my Macola database. That's pretty important if you've got if you're maintaining items on a remote server and you forget one that came through, you want to make sure that that gets stopped. So all my items, I don't have any alerts, so I just say create sales orders, and it'll walk down as many as that are there and automatically create new sales orders in my system. So if I went into Macola now, I could see those items and those orders that have been entered for these customers. Every time the customer number changed, it created a new order. And this is really definable by you. How do you want to pull it in? How do you want to build a sales order? And it can be different from website to website, so you may get different source material from each one.